Hello to you all. So good to have people coming in here. I can see the numbers are rising up here, that you're joining us all live. Thank you, thank you. And welcome to this celebration ceremony today for dear Lillian Pearl Bridges. Whew. We all gathered here today to celebrate Lillian, her life and legacy. Within Chinese medicine, our community, but also beyond this community, because we know there will also be lots of Lillian's friends here. Thank you all for being here live with us, and also thank to you who will see the replay later on. Or maybe some of you want to see it again and again and again. And I know we are gathered with people from all around the world. Lillian knew people from all around the world. It's such an honor and privilege to be the host here today, and I've organized this event together with the TCM Academy of Integrated Medicine, together with Yair Maimon. And also in the background, I want to say thank you to Guy. He's controlling everything and have everything under control here. And I want to introduce myself. I'm Marian Nielsen Joos. I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner, also a master face reader from Lillian, and a shamanic healer. I'm Danish original, but I live here in Switzerland. Lillian, our dear friend, master, mentor, and fellow traveler here on Earth until last September, where she had to return home to the stars. We are soon coming to the 1-year day of her passing. It feels sad today, and we know that it's 9/11 also. But we want to make this a day to remember, filled with joy, music, and love for Lillian, and flip the coin for transforming the sadness into pure love for our Lillian. Our dearest and beloved Lillian, a very special woman. Today we will all share light upon you and your life, dear Lillian. All with our heartfelt admiration, both with teachings of Lillian's tradition, her knowledge, wisdom, healing capacity, and the friends you were with so many. We all know her as the world-leading expert of face reading, but also 5-element feng shui, Daoist design, and not to forget her brilliance in cooking Chinese cuisine. All coming from her Chinese family lineage, and here her grandmother was a central figure for her. She developed her master face reading certificate program, where we who are speaking today are students of it. And you also got C.T. Kelly and Deirdre being with Lillian to make this happen, helping her to birth her vision and this dream coming true. Lillian also developed her Golden Path program to help individual clients find and persuade their life purpose. And I want to read something from the Lotus Institute and Lillian's website. The purpose of life is to be yourself as much as you can be, by combining your innate talents and abilities with the wisdom from your life experience and merging them with your intrinsic spirit. Then give yourself back to the world as a gift from Lillian Pearl Bridges. And this is what Lillian did. She gave herself to the world, her family lineage. She was one from all her cousins and family who brought this out to the world. Their family tradition. For them, that was so normal to read what was here in our faces. And we all received this as a gift for Lillian, from Lillian. And today we will open up with teaching within this field of face reading from all of us, her students, handing over wisdom and knowledge of Lillian's and this family lineage. C.T. Holman, Kelly Harrington, Deirdre Courtney, Julian Scott, Eva-Marie, Janelo, and myself. And I want to share a story also, because Lillian was a beautiful storytelling. All of you who knew her know this. I remember her sharing this as she started her path of bringing face reading to the world. I believe it was one of the first times where she was teaching. Somebody had organized her to come and speak. And only 2 people came. And they were excusing themselves as only 2 people were there and if they should cancel. But no, Lillian was on her golden path. And of course this was gonna start, even if just 2 people. And she gave them all, and she was probably reading their faces, and they felt the magic, what face reading is and what Lillian serves. And the next time, when Lillian came to teach in the same place, there was not just 2 people there. There were many, 30 or 40 people, because it has been so beautiful and her golden paths were just opening up. Yeah. And Lillian's popularity kept growing. In the field of Chinese medicine, Lillian has been on many congresses and symposiums and teachings around the world. And in 2013, Lillian was on the Dr. Oz show. And that even gave her more popularity. I think I remember something about her website getting broken down because there was overloaded with people contacting her. And Lillian, she also loved cooking. And she made a cookbook with her son Steve. I remember she was in heaven when she was cooking in my father's kitchen after one of the first times she was in Denmark. She loved that she could go into the refrigerator, into a whole room that was a refrigerator, and she could cook after we have done the lecture and she was over. And she was still fired up and she wanted to keep on giving love to the lecture, but also through food. At my last Congress in Denmark, because she was always invited to whatever I was doing, because Lillian's teachings was magical. She told me to do something, and I have not done it yet, but it's still in my heart. And that was Lillian. She saw your potential. She helped you birth your vision. She gently pushed you forward out of your comfort zone for you to live your life purpose and bring down that mandate from heaven to do your destiny. I was also so proud of teaching together with her in Rothenburg. But that was the last time we were both there live. And not only I have taught with her, also the speakers today have. And one time in Rothenburg, it was women's lunch lecture. And a few men had also come to this lecture. Even if it was named women's lunch lecture, but men was invited as well. And after that lecture, I received an email that this person had felt he was called to come to this women's lunch lecture where Lillian was teaching. And he received pearls of wisdom, just like Lillian's name. Pearls of wisdom for Lillian Pearlbridges. That's what you all are going to hear today, as we will all teach part of what Lillian learned us from over years and years listening to her and being part of her master program. How we all took her lineage and family tradition to our heart, and how we will keep serving this out to the world, to walk in Lillian's footsteps. We honor her tradition, and we will always share where we have it from, because Lillian did tell us that always to tell where it comes from, our teachings from her family. Otherwise, the ancestors will come after us, as they say in Chinese. And of course, we also have Lillian's book. Here it is. Face Reading in Chinese Medicine. And this is the second edition, with lots of color photos, showing faces and everything Lillian teaches and was teaching. And this is our Bible, Lillian's book. But we are also utterly happy that you are here with us today, for our beloved Lillian, and for all of us to celebrate her life and legacy. And Peter Firebrace will also be here today because they shared music together. We'll also make a contribute to Lillian, related to music that bonded them together. And before we go over to the teachings, I just want to say thank you all for being here with us today. Let's celebrate Lillian in all possible ways. And to end this whole ceremony, where we together shall lit a candle, I hope you brought this candle today, but don't do it now. Let's do it together in the end. So thank you all for being here with us. It's such an honor. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce to you Yair Mamon, and thank you for inviting me to this event. You reached out to me as we were listening, both of us, to you talking about Lillian at the Academy, at the Rottenburg Congress, being the, now I'm just losing it, the president of the European TCM Association. And you told me, let's do an event for Lillian. And I said, yes, let's do this. I had it on my mind and heart as well. So of course, and from that on, it just started rolling. And thank you for this great opportunity here to do this through the online academy, who has reached out from all around the world so that so many can be here today for Lillian. You and Lillian also taught together in Rottenburg. And you were so similar in the way that you work on the level of the Shen. So thank you also for being here with us here and share something about Lillian. So please, the word is yours.
Thank you, Marian. And yeah, it's emotional, I think, for all of us who are presenting here. And first, I want to thank Guy from the TCM Academy, you, Marian, for being such amazing, caring, and involved in it, and all the other teachers. I didn't know how to start, and my talk will be very short, but I'm just being reminded of this story about these two guys sitting in New York in a bar, and one of them is saying, I'm going to this psychologist, and he's really the best psychologist in New York. After each session, I feel like he's really the best. And the other guy is telling him, I'm also going to one of the best psychologists in New York. And after each session, I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm really the best. And to me, this is something about Lillian. She was able to find the best in people and to promote it. And this is a unique gift, and this is something I really, I've learned so much from her. This ability of this special gift and ability of heart caring. And it really, there is these two words. Most important is caring, and they also both are important, and the other one is heart. I think everyone here will eventually talk about Lillian as a heart as we know in Chinese medicine. There's somebody that brings love and Shen and caring and cares about other more than he cares about himself. And I think this is like extremely unique to this wonderful woman. Beyond sharing her wisdom and everything, is being able to promote this love and care in people. And you always felt with her that she's totally there for you and with you. And this is a gift. So I wanted to, instead of doing a long talk, actually let Lillian talk. And I would like to share, we did a lecture together at 2006. So it's 16 years ago. You will see I looked a bit younger and Lillian looks the same. And I was just watching small parts of a 6-7 hour lecture, but I think it kind of bring the essence of Lillian. I could have picked so many parts, but I would love to share you Lillian as she was and is in our heart, and to share her wisdom.
But it's always nice to know they're doing better for me. I also want to mention about the power of intention. I do feng shui as well. I do feng shui a lot. And feng shui is very ancient Daoist magic. That's what it's called. It's Daoist magic. And there are several schools of feng shui, and for years the field has been fighting about which way is better and which way works most. And you know what? It's all nonsense, because ultimately feng shui is about intention. As soon as you intend, as soon as you have a clear intention, energy moves, healing occurs. The intention is most important, and someone picking up the phone to call him or to call me or to call you, the intention is already for them to begin healing. It's there. And that's why sometimes it doesn't matter so much what you do. I mean, there are better things than others, don't get me wrong, but the healing's already started because they've chosen to heal. The intention is clear, okay? So that's one of the things I wanted to bring up. There's this trait in Chinese face reading that's really odd. It's called the upside down eye. If you had this picture and you cut off the top and the bottom and turned the entire face upside down, she actually looks like the bottom could be the top based on the lines, and the top could be the bottom. And that means she actually cuts off people from loving her. That she can be really close to someone and all of a sudden, bam, she'll switch. It's called the upside down eye. You can switch from love to hate really fast because of pain or a fear of losing. And so she's got what's called the upside down eye. And they're the people that suffer because they're not loved, but also push away love and reject love. Do you know what I'm talking about? They actually cut people off. So she was really sweet, though. She was very, very sweet. And the loss of her father and not being accepted and not fitting in was quite painful. At 16, all you want to do is be loved by somebody. You know, you want to fit in and be popular. It's painful. And never minimize a teenager's pain. Oh my God, it's miserable, you know? And we forget, oh yeah, you'll get over it. But you know, when they're in it, they don't believe you. So sit there with them and say, it's okay that you feel this way. You know, it's okay. So.
I was thinking one of the points that, I mean, I think it's more complex to treat such a case. And but one of the interesting points can be just pericard 7, because somehow the heart protector is to do.
Pericardium's right there, right around there.
Yeah. It's to do with the. It seems like the door to the heart, you know, is closed. She feels lonely. Her heart is like enclosed in one place. You know, it's like so guarded that she feels totally cut away from the ability to receive.
And you can see it. It's right there. This
probably also to give.
This is it, right there. You can see the pericardium circle right there. And on the heart itself.
Well, this is Lillian. So I think for all of us who know her and are always thankful for her teaching and being. So thank you all for joining here today. And I'm sure it will be a very special event. So all the best and thank you.
Thank you, dear Yair. That was so beautiful. You really brought Lillian to us here, and I love the little laugh she gave in the end. That is really Lillian, and we can feel her, and we feel her so dearly in her spirit today. Thank you, Yair. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
So, what we also have today, I have been in contact with the family. Lillian's 2 sons and 2 daughters, not lost, but daughters in love, they say. And they first thought about being here with us, but they felt it was too much for them at the moment, still feeling the grief and everything. But they wrote a beautiful message here that I can read to you all, and that's an honor. And I will read it slow, so I'll keep myself together. To our family, Lillian was the perfect example of a loving, devoted mother and grandmother. We know that to many of you, she was also a devoted friend, teacher, and/or mentor. She was a life well lived, filled with so much love, friendship, adventures, and travels. As we are experiencing our continuing grief by the loss of our mother, we all share in the sadness felt by all of you. Our family. This loss has changed every aspect of our lives, as she was a guiding light and support to us. Her pledge to devote her life in helping individuals finding their golden path was defined by kindness, positivity, and her wonderful sense of magic. She always saw and acknowledged the best in everyone she met, and remains one of the most generous people we know. We hope to continue those loving traditions in our lifetimes. Lillian also had the incredible ability to heal people, not just through Chinese medicine, but also through food, through her food. She had left a library of recipes to be passed down through the generations, and in many ways, cooking her food is how we feel the closest to her. We wanted to thank everyone for their love and support over the past year. It has brought much joy to our hearts to connect with so many of her family of friends, students, mentors, and colleagues. We love you, Mom, and miss you every day. Love to you all. Love, Steve and Kelsey, Alex and Ellie, Lillian's sons and daughters, in loves. Thank you so much for sending this to us, and that we can read this message today. Now I'm getting a little sense in my throat. Your mother was so special to all of us. And it's an honor that we can be here today to celebrate Lillian. And how better can we do it to share her knowledge and wisdom, because it's all in us. You can always listen to Lillian. She was always an inspiration. And as Yair so beautiful said, she would always find something so beautiful in any person And the way she would bring it over, you could see this person melting of love. Lillian's kindness, as her children are saying. So we do all miss her too. So let's go over to the teachings now. And the first one, who's in the spotlight, is CT. And you have learned a lot from Lillian too, CT, over the years. And I know she's also been in your clinic. You have together treated clients. She inspired you, I assure, to write your books also. And like you, we both combines Lillian's beautiful wisdom and traditions and shamanic healing work and Chinese medicine. And I'm excited to have you open, CT, from our teachings today of Lillian. And your title is Transforming Trauma to Illuminate Your Destination. So thank you, CT, and the word is yours.
Thank you so much, Marian, for that gracious introduction. And thank you for all your time and energy and efforts to organize this event. I want to thank the TCM Academy, all the speakers, everyone who's here joining us. And that was very powerful. Yeah, you're seeing Lillian teach again. It's been a while since I've seen video of her, so that was very powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm really glad we could have that passage from the family as well. I'm honored to be here and to celebrate our beloved Lillian Pearl Bridges. I'm going to try my best to hold it together for this. And Lillian's lineage, her face reading lineage, is a very powerful diagnostic tool. It allows us to see somebody's past, present, and future, their state of their organ health, their emotional tendencies. So with all this information, we can see how someone's been impacted by, say, emotional trauma, how it's affected their body, mind, and spirit. Lillian's lineage also allows us to see somebody's strengths, their talents, their Ming, their destiny. And today I'll be introducing the idea of looking at the face and seeing how you can see someone's been impacted by trauma, and also how we can guide them on their golden path, as Lillian would say, their destiny path. Okay, so let's get started. First, I wanted to mention a disclaimer. This is informational purposes only. It's not to substitute a medical diagnosis, treatment, or advice. We're here to celebrate the wonderful, amazing Lillian Pearl Bridges. To me, Lillian was a champion of love. She helped people learn to love themselves, and through guiding them and telling them about their strengths and talents, helping to guide them on their golden path, she helped thousands of people. And Lillian worked tirelessly teaching all over the world, writing textbooks, founding the Lotus Institute. And there's many of us here who are carrying on her teachings, and it's an honor to be able to do that and share the information that she taught all of us and was so generous with. Okay, so today we're going to talk a bit about how we can look at the face, understand how someone's been impacted by trauma, and how we can guide them on their golden path. I have pictures of patients, and they've agreed to allow me to show their images today, but I would just ask that you don't take any screenshots. You'll have the recording later to be able to reference. Now, when someone has a trauma, what it does is it scatters the energy. It upsets that homeostatic balance, and it disrupts that earth rhythm. The pericardium also tightens and traps the emotions in the heart, just like Yair was speaking with Lillian on that video about how the pericardium can hold those emotions and get tight. That can happen in trauma as well. And also, almost most importantly, the spirit becomes unrooted. And there's such a chaotic environment, the spirit doesn't feel safe and it wants to leave. So one of the first things we can do is actually look at the Shen, the spirit of someone. This is the light that shines through their skin. It shines through their eyes. So for example, this woman here, she had just experienced a trauma. We can see that kind of muddiness look to her skin. Now, she's obviously here when I took the picture in the room, but she's really not here. If you look at her eyes, there's that vacant, confused look, like Lillian would say, lights on, no one's home. So there's just this, the spirit isn't fully animating and illuminating the body. Now, sometimes we can see paleness on the skin. There's this woman here who had experienced a lot of trauma in her 20s, and then also recent trauma. She wasn't able to eat much food. She was down to only 3 foods that she could eat. She was losing lots of weight, and she had to literally wear this belt like a girdle around her rib cage just to hold her bones together. And you can see here that paleness to her skin and that lost, kind of checked out look in her eyes. We'll talk more about her case in a moment. Here is a gentleman whose wife had just died, and on her deathbed, he was sitting next to her telling her how much he loved her. And her last words to him were, "You never loved me, you don't love me," and then she passed. This was a devastating trauma to him. You can see that lost look in his eyes. His face is falling. Of course, we can see that red nose. This relates to the lungs. He was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis, which makes sense. Those of us in Chinese medicine, we know how grief affects the lungs. We'll talk more about his case in a moment too. Here's a woman who had recently been divorced. You can see here that kind of muddiness to her skin. She was feeling very alone. She had a young child, and it also brought up an old memory from her when her mother died when she was 2 years old. So she was feeling this strong sense of abandonment. We can see that sadness look in her eyes. She's trying to smile, but there's a sadness, a heaviness there for her. This woman had just been given a medical diagnosis from a cardiologist saying that she could no longer take her heart medication. Her heart wasn't strong enough, and Western medicine had no more they could do for her and to think happy thoughts. So she felt very lost and abandoned by the medical system. You can see that kind of falling of her face here, the checked out look in her eyes, and we'll talk more about her case in a moment too. So besides looking at the Shen, we can also look at the age map. This is from Lillian's book, and there's horizontal lines on the face that relate to different ages. And this relates to, if we see a line at a certain age, that's where the Jing has been compromised. And oftentimes that does happen from a trauma. So we can look on someone's face and see their past traumas, any current trauma that's going on for their current age, and any future traumas. So let's say someone's in their 30s and we see a horizontal marking on their nose, that lets us know a trauma is coming up in the future. If we can help them process their old trauma and any current trauma, this marking will actually fade away. And I know a lot of us who study with Lillian have seen this. We've seen it happen when Lillian's been in class. It's amazing how we can see those future traumas fade away. So for example, with this gentleman, we can see these lines going across his forehead. This relates to the 20s. We actually like to see these lines on the face. So there are lines that are positive, and this means that someone went through some lessons in their 20s. Now, if the line goes all the way across, it means they learned that lesson. So we can see he learned some lessons in his 20s. If we look further down his face, we see a line here at that 60s marker, and that means there's a trauma coming up in his 60s. If we can help him work out any past or current trauma, this line will fade away, and it is pretty amazing. I have a case that will show that. Now, besides the horizontal lines on the face, we also have lines that are vertical and diagonal, and I believe Marian is going to be speaking more about this later in her lecture. But just to introduce this emotional map, you know, for example, a lot of times we'll see lines between somebody's eyes. That's annoyance, irritation. We can often see lines coming from the corners of their eyes. This is sadness, sorrow, and grief if it goes all the way into their cheek. We can see lines on the chin. This relates to fear. So there's many lines here, and I'm not going to get into all those, but just to introduce the idea that we can see someone's emotional tendencies. So for example, this woman here, we can see she has some of those irritation lines. She has the sadness, sorrow, grief lines. There's lines on her chin that relate to fear. So we can just see how someone is working and processing through emotions. Now, besides looking at those maps, we can also look at the organ map, and this lets us know about the 5 spirits of the body: the turtle snake, the green dragon, the red phoenix, the yellow bird, the white tiger. So we can look at the different areas on the face that relate to different organs. So for example, the upper forehead and the chin, this relates to the black turtle snake, the kidneys, urinary bladder. Where that area I was talking about between the eyes, that green area here, that relates to the green dragon of the east. So that is the liver gallbladder. And we can see the nose here, the whole nose, like we saw in that one gentleman with the red nose. We can see that relates to the white tiger of the west, the lung. But the tip of the nose relates to the red phoenix of the south, the heart. And so we'll see more of that in a moment too. So we can use those facial features to not only understand how someone's physiology has been affected, but also understand their strengths, their talents, their abilities, their Ming, their mandate from heaven, what Lillian called golden path. And this was really Lillian's one of her major contributions to all of us. And I know all of us who worked and studied and mentored with her, were friends with her. She helped guide us on our golden path. And it's just a great gift. So here's that woman who had a lot of trauma in her 20s. We can see those lines going across her forehead, indicating she had some lessons in her 20s. But there's one line that doesn't go all the way across, so she didn't learn that lesson. Now she's here in her early 40s, and we're not only seeing these lines here, but we can see a bit of an indentation on her forehead. So this is, again, that black turtle snake, the kidneys, the jur, the will to live. She's just not feeling that will to live. She's not able to eat much food. She's losing lots of weight. We can see she has some of those lines in the corner of her eyes, those sadness lines. But we also see this big, wide, generous mouth. When someone has that big, wide mouth, they're generous. They want to be out there in the world speaking, helping others. The mouth relates to the yellow bird of the center, the spleen and stomach. So it's the earth element. It's the ability to, enjoy life and also be interested in nourishment. So I asked her, I said, what are you interested in? Well, she's really interested in food and nutrition and learning about different ways to prepare foods and for health, for healing. And she wanted to teach people. I said, yes, that'd be awesome. It'd be wonderful if you could start doing that. She started learning more about nutrition, started to help teach people about it. We did acupuncture, and lo and behold, she had a major transformation. Now, we can see here that her forehead filled out. She started feeling that will to live again. The lines on the side of her eyes started to fade away. And her whole spirit brightened. We can see the light shining through her eyes and skin now. She's on her golden path. And this isn't anything that I did. I merely acted as a guide and just pointed out different things. And she took the ball and she went through that dark night of the soul and really made a major transformation. Here's that woman who was recently divorced. We can see that sadness for her. We can see a little bit of redness in her skin. That relates to inflammation. We know from the Neijing, red relates to heat or inflammation. And then there's a little bit of greasiness there too. So that's that sheen of like the dampness. So a bit of damp heat. She was having a really difficult time with her lifestyle and with her food choices, and just feeling so sad and abandoned. But I said, look at these great, strong eyebrows you have. This relates to leadership ability. And, maybe you could go into some capacity in that. And I said, what are you doing right now? Well, she just finished her degree. She was getting ready to do her licensing exam. I said, well, you might consider something with leadership. And we started doing acupuncture. She took her licensing exam. She started to feel better. You could see that dampness, that heat starting to fade away, and some of the light coming back into her eyes and skin. We continued treatment, and then you could really see a change with her whole spirit lifting. And by this point, she was applying for work. She ended up getting a job at administration at this clinic where she was running the whole place, and she felt so good. She also conquered her fear of flying. All these things started opening up for her, and that is really that idea of the golden path power. Here's that gentleman whose wife had just died. You can see that lost look for him, and that really strong red nose. The whole nose represents the lungs. He was having wheezing, coughing. He was taking medication. Nothing was helping. I started working with him with acupuncture and herbs, but I also talked to him about what did he enjoy? What does he love in life? And it was, he's processing so much grief, but he said, he really loved to be out and kind of freestyle. We can see his bushy eyebrows and that idea of being the pioneer and also being out in nature. And he also had a really strong interest in psychology. So I said, well, how about, bringing some of that interest back into your life? And we started working with acupuncture and herbs, and he started feeling a lot better. He started feeling lifted again and back into his full energy. And by this point, his lung condition had faded away. He was no longer needing medication. He was taking herbs to support his lungs, and he wanted to get his motorcycle out at this point. And I said, whoa, I'm not sure if that's time for that yet. But he really made a major shift in his life. And it was him, again, taking that information and bringing it into his cells and really walking on his golden path. Here's the woman who was told by the medical establishment she wasn't able to take medication anymore. We can see here, looking at the tip of her nose, remember that relates to the red phoenix of the south, the heart. We can see some redness there, some duskiness there, some paleness there. So we're seeing some blood stagnation with the dusky. We're seeing some inflammation with the redness. We're seeing blood deficiency with the paleness. So her heart is having a lot of issues. She was having atrial fibrillations, and her heart rate was going up to 240 beats per minute. That is incredibly fast. You can see this fatigue on her face. So we started working with her. Now, she really loved her family. She loved traveling. She couldn't do any of that because her energy was so low. So I started doing acupuncture and working with the pericardium and the heart. And lo and behold, she really started feeling better. We can see her nose had a major change, and she started really getting back into her fun spirit. And by this point, she went back to her cardiologist. The cardiologist said, oh, wow, your heart is stronger. You can start taking medication again. She was able to get a pacemaker. She was able then to travel and go see her family. She could go travel out of state. And it was really a combination of that East Asian medicine and Western medicine coming together, and her stepping on her golden path to really just embody that fun spirit that she has. So these cases are all credit to Lillian Pearl Bridges and her teachings that have been, that are all over the world, that continue on with all us students. And I just encourage you all to, if you're interested, we do have recordings on the Lotus Institute of Lillian speaking about Jing and Qi and Shen and Ming, the golden path, and Ling, the magic of the universe. And she has scholarship, there's a scholarship programs available too for this. So for me, one thing that Lillian helped me do is, one, get into teaching. When I first met her, I wasn't wanting to teach, but she encouraged me to teach, and now I'm out there teaching. I'm very grateful for that. She also encouraged me to bring drumming into my clinic. So I now use drums in or hand drums specifically in my clinic for healing. And I play rock drums, but I wanted to bring my two lives together. So Lillian encouraged me to start doing drumming for healing. So I want to do just a little bit of drumming, then I'll pass it off to Kelly. But I wanted to say that this beat I'm going to play right now is the metal drum beat. It is for the lungs and large intestine. So there's different rhythms for different organ systems. I thought I would play this one because we're in autumn in the Northern Hemisphere. So to really tune in to that White Tiger of the West energy, that autumn energy. But also this was Lillian's favorite drum beat that I did. She loved this metal drum beat. And when I first met Lillian, I was in a large class, and she was talking about breathing. And she was talking about breathing slow, smooth, deep, and even through the nose, but holding your breath between the in and out breaths, and to tune in to that spirit world. She said that in between time is tuning into the Ling, the magic of the universe, the spirit. So I thought we could all try this breathing technique to tune into Lillian's spirit and to send blessings and love and gratitude to her. So it'd be breathing in for, say, like 4 seconds gently through the nose, holding your breath for 4 seconds, breathing out through the nose for 4 seconds, holding your breath for 4 seconds, breathing in again, and repeating that pattern. This metal drum beat does help the lungs and large intestine. It helps with letting go. It helps with processing grief. Okay, so Thank you so much, dear Lillian. Thank you all for being here. Thanks to TCM Academy. Thank you to all the speakers. Blessings and love to our dear Lillian Pearl Bridges. Thank you.
Thank you so much, CT. Stay here a moment with me just as I round up your beautiful lecture here for us. And wow, I think your pictures really speaks for how magical face reading is and what you can read in it and see and help people back to life and to flourish again. And thank you for sharing that. And you just help us to process a bit of our grief here with your metal drums. Thank you so much for that, CT. And yeah, you are part of the Lotus Institute. You carried on Lillian's teachings for her students to end their the class that's just happening right now. And yeah, it's beautiful when the Lotus Institute can carry on and show Lillian with her teachings recorded and still have people helping to lift it all through. So thank you so much, CT.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marian.
And now we will continue again with the next beautiful speaker and teacher here, dear Kelly. You have known Lillian the longest, I think, of all of us. You were both so dear friends, and you helped co-create the master program that Lillian at some point really were ready to birth into the world. And I know you have traveled together a lot also. You were with Lillian when she was teaching face reading and always there through the whole time with all the master classes. And you were also there at the end with her. And yeah, that was beautiful. And we know you're still deeply connected with her. And we are so excited to see what you will share with us today and share the love for Lillian. Thank you for being here, Kelly.
Thank you so much, Marian. Thank you for arranging this beautiful tribute. I did okay until today, and I was practicing with Deirdre and I fell apart. So I'm hoping I can keep it together to honor Lillian and show my deep love and respect. There's so much I wanted to say about her, so much that I learned. And she was my teacher, my mentor, and most importantly, my dear friend. She had a profound impact on my life, and I'm so grateful to have known her. She was extremely generous with her wisdom. And when Marian contacted me and asked me to be a part of this, I was thinking about what I wanted to say. It would take more time than we have to share the wisdom that she shared with me and what I learned from her. But there are a couple things that I actually use every day that I learned from her. One of the things, and people have talked about this too in different words, but Lillian had the most amazing way of reframing a situation. I witnessed it, of course, personally. I witnessed it with friends and colleagues of Lillian's and of mine, students in lectures and in the master face reading. When I first met her, I had a face reading by her, and it was during a critical transition, what she called a critical transition, which was a decade birthday. I had traveled from the East Coast of America back to the West Coast. I had changed careers from a career on Wall Street and in finance to a hands-on situation. I was going through a divorce. I had a huge shift in my income. And then the night before my birthday, a dear friend who I was doing home health for died of AIDS. And when I met Lillian, of course, she was compassionate and loving towards me, but I relayed my story to her and she said, "Congratulations." And I was a little bit in shock because most people would commiserate with me and say, "Oh, you poor dear." And what happened with her, again, with compassion, she helped me to see how strong I really was to go through what I did, how I could let go of blame and shame and regret and start to move on from my personal grief, that deep grief. And she showed me how to embrace who I was and talked about my destiny, my Ming, my golden path. And one of the things that she wanted me to do, which of course I started doing immediately, is to study face reading. And our friendship began from that moment. The profound thing and most amazing thing, and anyone who was in contact with Lillian will know this and it resonates, is that when she told me these things, I believed that. I absolutely believed that I was stronger, that I did have a destiny. And she told me my worst days were behind me, that I had done most of my suffering, and that I had great things ahead of me. Lillian helped thousands and thousands and thousands in the same way in her classes, in her lectures, and in personal readings. She would tell us by letting go, we had another huge benefit, that we would lose wrinkles. We witnessed this multiple times in the master face reading class and sitting with her and watching her to do readings. She also would do this without judgment, that she would help us to relieve these stuck emotions, that we could transform them. And the amazing skill that she also shared with us and taught us to do is to be positive, that she could find in the most extreme examples something positive. It would be, what did you learn about this? Can you rise above and look down at it? She would say things like, a person who had guilt or shame about a situation, she'd say, how do you know your values unless you test yourself? Or if this happened, this experience, and it was your daughter or your son or your friend or your spouse, would you be able to forgive them? Then why on earth, if that's so, you can't forgive yourself? She helped so much with her love, her compassion, and her wisdom. And as Marian said, if anyone does not have her brilliant Face Reading in Chinese Medicine, second edition, it's so comprehensive, and I would suggest that you do it. She reminded us in her experiences that who we are right now is a combination of our life experiences, and that she wouldn't, with false praise or platitudes, tell us things, but she could see the divine in each of us and encouraged us to be on our path. So on to Daoist design. She called it Daoist design for a number of reasons. One of them was that at the time we were studying in the early 1990s, many people were teaching feng shui at that time. And they incorporated a lot of superstition, a lot of dogma, and a lot of very specific cures that if you like them, they're not a bad thing to do. But she so wanted us to create personal cures because she said they were much more powerful. That she also, as someone said, sorry, I can't remember what everyone said, that Daoist design, and maybe it was Lillian, it's Daoist magic. And that really it was concentrated common sense. And when you think about it, there are really three tenets that we use in our consultations, that we want to protect chi, enhance chi, and nurture chi. And so what I would do is during my studies, this is what Lillian had learned from her extraordinary family, that she studied, of course, face reading with her grandmother and her mother and her aunts and uncles. And she especially studied feng shui with her uncle Alex. And this was something that she wanted all of us, as Marian said, and I think CT said as well, is to share the wisdom of her lineage. All that she asked was, one, that we say it is her lineage, and that we make up our own materials. So she, again, it was concentrated common sense, Daoist magic, and the philosophy was returning the Daoist roots of feng shui back to the natural aspects of living well, healthfully, and it included yang Sheng, and Deirdre will talk about that later. I start my consults actually when I'm on my way to wherever I'm going. And I view whatever I see. I look at, am I in nature? Am I in a city? Once I arrive, is it easy to find? If it's not easy, often it's a water structure. And I do the feng shui based on face reading and the 5 elements. So once I get there, I look at the door and I ask the people if they're willing to take a 5-element test. Now, I've already observed, as Lillian has taught us in face reading, what element they are strongest in, whether it's a person's home or their office, because we read the body first. Then I look at their face and I see if their faces match what their bodies show us, and ask them to do the test. And I look at the test and see if, in fact, it matches what I've already observed. I look at if it's a couple or if it's an office. I do some matchmaking skills that Lillian has taught us, that I look to see where they match and where perhaps they don't match. And that gives me clues on what to do when I'm working with them. I also look at their 3 zones. There's mental, there's practical, there's intuitive. And I look to see how I might talk with them. Do I need to give them a lot of information because they're more high mental zone? If they're the practical zone, do I need to tell them how it's going to benefit them or other things? And certainly with the intuitive, it's quite easy because they often just want me to jump in and work with them. So I look at them, and I also can see what Lillian taught us in the facial topography, mountains and rivers. And that will give me a clue as to if, in fact, they're living in a place that supports them. And the mountains are bony structures, and the rivers are any of the features that are sensory organs. So our eyes, our nostrils, our ears, our mouth. And I look again, and if they aren't living in harmony with their topographical map, I might encourage them, in order to help regenerate, to go on holidays, to go to those places. Or if they're not certain that they want to live where they are currently living, we talk about what areas in nature would better support them. I look at the elemental makeup and talk to them about it, because again, the way Lillian taught us was not to take anything away. So again, we look at the water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. So if someone were deficient in an element, we might feed from the element before, or we might go around their home to see if their home or office will support them. I look at what it is they want to manifest. And that clip that Yair so beautifully presented of Lillian, she was saying intention is the most important part. So by them calling me, already we know that they're willing to make some changes. And so I ask them, I look at the Bagua, which is a map, and the map, sorry for not sharing so beautifully as CT did, but there's a map, which is the Bagua, and within it are 9 squares, and within is Earth, which is us, which is the most important part of the Bagua. So everything surrounds us, goes around us. So we make sure we can support the people in the best way. And Earth also represents Yang Sheng, and Deirdre will talk more about that later. But I ask them about what it is that they want to manifest. And this particular Bagua, what we do is we orient it by the front door. Lillian did feng shui, the original feng shui, which was form school, and that's what I learned from her. So we orient from the front door, and that is the mouth of the house. And if you look at often Chinese restaurants, they paint their front door red because it's a mouth color. And that brings in auspicious chi to the home. Now, if you don't have a red door, there are other things we can do. I'm not going to say everyone has to have a red door, but we orient from there. And that's where the energy comes in to the house. So at the home, I've already started, but with the two people or with the office or with the one person, we do what we call a chi walk. And the chi walk is to feel the energy within the home. And we all, as I said, are filled with chi. Everything has chi in it. And it's really easy to feel the energy. So I start feeling things and I ask people where things came from. The idea, again, is to remove anything that steals their chi. And what I want to do is enhance their chi. So perhaps I find something that I'm feeling some energy from, and I'll say, where did this come from? If it's from someone that they no longer like, or someone they love, the energy will definitely feel different. If they love the person, that enhances their chi. If they went through a messy divorce and have held on to something because it's expensive, that still will steal their chi. A door that squeaks or hard to open, those are chi stealers. So what we do again is to look at what we can do to enhance. As I said, Lillian was extraordinary. She was amazing face reader and could see visually so well, but really her most amazing thing was her sense of hearing. She would listen to what people said, the inflections in their voices. So I do that as well in my consultations, that I listen to what people say and try to create with them a plan to live more harmoniously and healthfully, and find out what it is that they want to bring forth. Our homes reflect our emotions. By making them more beautiful, we're finding a space for our spirit. Her approach to feng shui, Daoist design, was profound and spiritual. She taught us in face reading and feng shui that we're born to complete our Ming, our golden path, our destiny. Using this ancient wisdom from her, I help find ways to support all the people in the home and their offices so that they can complete their destiny. I'm profoundly grateful to her. She was extraordinary, as people will continue to tell you. And I appreciate all of you and your contributions. And thank you so much for letting me be a part of it.
Oh, thank you, dear Kelly. That was so beautiful. And I wanted to say, I totally forgot to say your title. It's Daoist Design Using 5 Element and Face Reading. And you so beautiful took us on a journey here into a home. And we could really see how you do this work that you learned from Lillian. And most of all, thank you for being so personal in the beginning. And we could really feel Lillian through your words and your love and everything. That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Kelly.
So much. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, another one who just shares from the heart and what Lillian could serve and was teaching us. And I really hope you can all feel the magic here. Lillian was really a magical person and was so gifted and so generous, like Siti said, in sharing everything. And yeah, it's wonderful to have this event with you all tonight. And now we have the next beautiful person here, Deirdre Courtney. And actually Deirdre and Kelly are together in Ireland right now. So how wonderful is that? And Deirdre, you're the Irish friend to Lillian, right? So you would also, you're connected to that Irish wake that we are going to do. It was Lillian's wish, and you will tell more about that later. You also learned from Lillian so many years, and you and Lillian shared that passion for cooking, right? Because you are a chef. Yes, and through you find your way through cooking and food. You came into Chinese medicine also, and then further to Lillian's face reading, and yeah, which something which you will never let go of, right?
No.
Yeah. So thank you also, Deirdre, for being here. And your title is Freeing Blocked Emotions for Rejuvenation, Yang Chen, and Living Your Ming. Thank you.
Thank you, Marian, and thank you so much for organizing this, and TCM Academy as well. And try to get through. For those of you who saw me at Rothenburg, you saw at the end I actually lost it. Managed to get through most of it, but I'm hoping, to get through this. Yes, actually, the last time Kelly was here in Ireland was with Lillian. And we stayed here. This is an apartment I have. And she sat exactly where I'm sitting and drank a gin and tonic, and absolutely loved it. And I mean, that was the amazing thing. She was my friend, and I got to hang out with her an awful lot. And I was really grateful for that. I met Lillian in the 90s. I invited her here to Ireland to do a talk, and it was actually the beginning of an incredible journey for me, because in that weekend workshop that she did for me in Ireland, it opened the door to face reading, which absolutely changed the whole way I work and worked from then on with patients, and now doing face reading, teaching and that. And one of the things I was doing at that time in the 90s in Ireland was I was teaching facial rejuvenation. And I had some students who would come up to me, and there was this one particular girl, the story I'll tell about. And, she was saying, like, I've been doing so many courses of the treatment on this client, and all parts of the face are rejuvenating except this one area around the mouth. And I was thinking, okay, well, maybe we need to just do a little more. And then I would look a little bit at the Chinese diagnosis and think, okay, maybe a bit blood deficient, and so nourish a bit of blood and do some body points or whatever. And then I did this workshop with Lillian, and she talked about the emotional map, and CT showed that great picture of the emotional map, the lines on the face, the grief lines and the lines on the forehead and that. And I suddenly, was now exposed to this whole concept of how our emotions are marking our face, and that these lines and wrinkles were either overused or underused emotions. They were to do with traumas in our lives, and actually traumas that we know when we have a trauma in our lives, we can actually have loss of Jing, or Jing gets stuck in these lines in our faces. And as Kelly said, what was extraordinary when we were working in class with Lillian is, as people would process from listening to what Lillian and her stories, she was such an amazing storyteller, that people would transform and the lines would start to fade. I remember the first time it happened in class, and the three of us got together, and Lillian was going, "Did you see that?" And I said, "Well, I saw it, but I wasn't sure I saw it. Did you see it?" And then we would observe more and more and see that when people let go of these traumas and these emotions that they hold on to in their life, that their face, the lines and wrinkles went away. And I remember when we were at Lillian's mum's funeral, and she has this Auntie Pearl who is absolutely, like, she's in her 80s or 90s. She's in her 90s, and she hasn't a line on her face. And Kelly went up to her and said, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful. You've no lines on your face." And she said, "I just let things go. I don't hold on to them." And it's really that what Lillian taught us is this idea that, these traumas, if we change them around, look at what we learned from it, move on. And this was very much about her golden path. And, that, and everybody she met, she pushed onto their path. And that's what she did with me. She used to nudge me when I first used to meet her about teaching and writing my book about Yang Sheng. And then sometimes she'd actually push me and just push me into get on that path there. And in that whole emotional map,
my book, Yang Shang, is about nurturing life. And nurturing life is about looking at the person in front of you and helping them understand who they are and help heal them, as opposed to looking at the illness or the disease. And so we look at Yang Shang, we look at nurturing somebody in cultivating their mind and spirit. And that's a lot to do about how we feel about ourselves, you know, our spiritual growth, all of these things, how we interact with people. It's about opening our heart and being present. And another aspect is about living in harmony with the laws of nature and looking at the person and going, okay, you know, you live in this climate or you live in this country. And that's where we look at the mountains and rivers, like what Kelly mentioned, is, are they living in that way that their face is saying? And so the face really helped me in my practice work with Yang Shen, which is what I did all the time. And it's what I loved about Chinese medicine. It's what I was drawn to, is that we don't look at the disease, we look at the person in front of us. And we try to help them see themselves as well and help them find balance with that. Another aspect is nutrition and lifestyle, and nurturing our vehicle. That is our vehicle, that is our body, that helps us to move on our path and be on our path until we've done our Ming, we've done our destiny, we've done what we've been here to do. And so we have to mind this vehicle that we've been given so that we can fulfill that destiny. And that was a lovely thing, because Lillian and myself were very similar when it came to food. I used to be a chef, and we would teach in the modules. We would be in Bath, or we would be in Germany or in Denmark, and we would always have somewhere we would rent an Airbnb. And then at the end of our day, Lillian and myself would cook, and good old Kelly would clean up after us. She did. She was happy doing that. But we would that was a way of us grounding ourselves and earthing ourselves. And it was a real pleasure to do that. So when I learned about face reading, and I learned about the map on the face, going back to the student, I realized that this area here is about over-nurturing other people. And so when we have these lines on this area, it is a sign that we are giving too much of our own energy at our expense. Now, if it wasn't at our expense, then it wouldn't mark the face. So when we, you know, this person was a mother. She had a very successful husband who worked in the movie industry, and she's an amazing artist. And her husband would be away for long periods of time. And so she would devote her time to, you know, creating a home for him when he came back and bringing up the children and doing that. But she did it to the extent where she didn't express her own creativity enough. So she held herself back, and therefore that part of her face marked. And so in order really to rejuvenate that area, she needs to start putting herself first. And to know that, and to be able to look at somebody's face and see that and go, okay, you know, really you need to put yourself first. It's like when you're on the airplane and they say that you put your mask on first before you put it on the kids. You have to mind yourself, and you have to be on your path, and you have to fulfill your destiny as well. And yes, you have to mind your family and your children, but not to the extent where you don't follow your own golden path. You don't follow your own journey. And I think this was really important, to empower somebody to that, be able to do that. Another area of the face that actually marks quite a lot with people is a line just here on the chin area. And this is the age of 60. And so one, if you're not 60, you really shouldn't have a line there at all, because it's saying that you're doing something on a daily basis that your body doesn't like. It can be something you're eating. It could be a job you're in. It could be an emotion that you're overindulging with or not indulging with, that you should be maybe expressing. It can be a relationship. It can be anything. But if it has marked this area, then it is saying that you're doing something that's taking your Jing away. And if it's taking your Jing away, it's taking you off your path. And so what we have to realize about emotions is that when we live in emotions, so something happens and it makes us angry, and we hold on to that anger and we get agitated and frustrated, and this anger, stays with us, and that affects the liver energy, the wood element. What that does is keeps us in the past. It keeps us there at that moment when whatever was done or said we identify ourselves with that. And if you're identifying yourself with some past emotion, then you're always living in the past. And really what we want to be doing is be in the present on our journey, on our path. And it's incredible. The face is such an amazing way in. And I remember the first time, Lillian did a reading. She only ever did one reading on me when I first met her. And I remember she asked permission to go in. And I was kind of thinking, what's she talking about? And then I remember saying, you leave quite a lot. And I was going, yeah. And she goes, you need to come back. And then it was like she was going, come back here now. And but I remember that lovely way that she asked permission to go in. And boy, did she go in. And she really was asking permission. Can I really see you? Because you're raw in front of her. And it was interesting. I've been with somebody for many, many years, over 27 years. And last year we decided to get married. And we actually got married the week before Lillian died. And I remember my reading, Lillian said to me, you should marry this man. Like that was in 1998 or 99 or something. And I remember ringing her on the Wednesday before she passed away to say why I did it. And she just did this lovely clap. And I just thought, wow, it took me all those years to do it. But, I did it in the end because, I always used to say to people when we would travel, because Lillian would be in a situation and she would say something to somebody, oh, you're very good at this, or, oh, you should do that, or, oh, you this, and I would follow behind and go up to them and say, anything she says to you, pay attention, because as flippant as it might seem, or as off the cuff as it might be, she never says anything that isn't true. She sees, and pay attention to that. And I hope I instill something to do with face reading. I mean, in 2018, Lillian asked me and Kelly to take over the Golden Path workshops because she wanted to do more writing and didn't want to continue teaching. And so we were very grateful to be passing and continuing her wonderful work and helping people find and help them get on their path as well. And very grateful for her for putting me on my path and to be part of this wonderful group of people and to be sharing on this wonderful day. And I haven't started crying yet, so that's pretty good. Thank you. I think, yeah.
Thank you, Deirdre. That was so beautiful. And if you would have cried, that would have been okay as well.
Maybe later.
Yes, you could do later. That was so inspiring again to hear you, Deirdre. And the whole thing about face reading and rejuvenation, it's really is that magical part. What can happen? We saw it in CT's photos also, and we saw it always in class, and that that's what it does when the spirit comes forward. It's amazing. And I loved when you also talked about the philtrum, which we know so much about, and we said Lillian when she comes and said something to people, but also the way that she would touch people here, right? And bring in babies. That was so incredible.
So many babies. It was amazing. Yeah. And that was that Ling energy. She was connected to this incredible Ling energy. Yeah, she could just bring it in. It was, she was amazing. Yeah.
It was just like you said, she was hearing, she was seeing, she was really intuitive on, it was amazing. And food, the two of you cooking, and Kelly also, and always in class, Lillian would always have so much food there for all of us to eat in the breaks to stay grounded with her, giving so much information that was also connected to spirit.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Deirdre.
Thank you, Marian. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have Julian also coming in. He's already here. Great to have you here, Julian. Julian Scott from the UK. And I know you and Julian has also been friends for many years. Very close, also your families. And I believe one of your daughters was also very close to Lillian. And you are known here in Chinese medicine, our world, for treating children and also eye diseases. But you also have done Lillian's master program, right, when she was in Bath, where you live?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, and that was why I wanted you so dearly to be here today, also with the friendship you have with Lillian and your daughter also. So we are excited to see how you will bring us in and which side you will bring for face reading. And your title is Face Reading in Art Galleries and for Early Signs of Alzheimer. Thank you for being here, Julian.
Yes. Well, I didn't know what to talk about. I thought there's so much of Lillian. I mean, Kelly and Deirdre have talked about the influence that Lillian has had on them, and she's had influence on me too, enormous influence. I don't know where to begin really. So rather than sort of say what Deirdre and Kelly have been saying, and how she touched so many people, and in such a deep way as well. Her face reading course wasn't about face reading; it was about you, about people, about spreading goodness in the world, and that was really, really wonderful. And she spread goodness and kindness wherever she went, and in particular, she was very good and kind to my daughters, and particularly to Liz, who spent time with her in Seattle. So I felt sort of daunted at sort of trying to even put something into words which couldn't be put into words really. So I thought I'd do something a bit more frivolous, a bit more sort of light, as it were, so sort of bring an amusing tone. I hope you'll find it that. And it was one of the things. And I ought also to say that I had actually learnt a lot about face reading before I'd met Lillian. There'd been the first course I'd been to is in 1976 by a crusty old man from Hong Kong who faced enormous criticism from the class because at that time there was a period of rampant feminism, and he gave this instructions on how to find a good wife. And that didn't go down very well, I can tell you. But it was so judgmental. The whole thing was judgmental. And the thing about Lillian, she was not judgmental. There's no such thing as a good feature or a bad feature. It's just a feature. Learn to live with it, work with it. That's what you've got. Anyway, I just talk a little bit about what I want to talk about. What I took, it's something frivolous. Is she's shown what fun it can be going around art galleries. There's a sort of different view about art galleries. I've always felt a little bit sort of daunted about going around art galleries because I was supposed to know who this artist was and what they were good at and what they were famous for doing, and how they broke the rules and so on. But now I just think, well, hey, look, there are these people, and there's this. These are actually all the pictures are from the Louvre, and I just come across these wonderful pictures, wonderful caricatures. Look at this woman here. I mean, is she a metal type or is she a metal type? And you can see, I just before it go to the next slide, I just want to point out this guy here who was her husband. Well, let's look at it a bit more closely. Well, are they warm eyes or are they cold eyes? I mean, the thing you can say about this picture is almost certainly her lines have been airbrushed out. Almost certainly she's got lines below her lip representing bitterness, that she's followed all the rules and hasn't been rewarded with happiness. I mentioned the person, her husband. I think that her husband looks like quite a nice sort of guy. And he's in a little round like that because he was drowned at sea. And I can't help wondering whether he preferred the fate of being drowned at sea to coming back to the home. Anyway, these are the thoughts that go through my mind when I go through an art gallery. And the next one is just that such a contrast. This is called The Smoker by Adrian Brower. And you think, well, I sometimes think, well, supposing the previous lady's daughter had fallen in love with him, can you imagine that the tantrums that would be at home? But I mean, look at him. You can almost smell his hair. It isn't washed, is it? I mean, the combination of wood and fire there is just splendid. And you can see that very impulsive person. You can see from the bulging eyes there, just ruled by his motions. What lovely thing we're going to do next. But what I'm also interested in was his nose. I'm going to give you a close-up of his nose. Look at that nose. I mean, my goodness me, it's so red, and the tips of it are brilliant red and shining and split like that. I mean, he hasn't got a long life ahead of him. I mean, what extraordinary thing, there's two extraordinary things, is that he's got sufficiently strong constitution to go on being alive with that. I don't think it's very long he's got left, but my goodness me, what a constitution he must have to still keep going. The other thing I find interesting is, particularly interesting, you don't see people like that any longer. That sort of person has disappeared from the environment. This full heat, extremely full heat, and raucous and smoking and smelly. I mean, I'm sure they must exist somewhere, but nowhere near me. And for a personal thing, it helps me to understand some of the old herbal textbooks. They're always going on about curing fevers. And when this guy gets a fever, he's going to be really ill. So Lillian gave me this sort of fun to look at the person in the picture rather than think, oh, the techniques, look at the brushstroke and so on. Just look at who is the person in the painting. What's their life? What sort of person are they? Then it's also connected in with a personal project that I started about Alzheimer's disease. It's something which I've sort of turned to in my old age. I mean, hoping that I'm not going to get it, but you never know what's going on. And I was leafing through the pictures from the Louvre Gallery and came across this one. This is Pope Calixtus III, about 1456. It actually can't be him. It must have been painted from somebody else. But the other paintings of Pope Calixtus are nowhere near this. And if you look at what sort of life the real Pope Calixtus said, it was a life of great energy late in life. And I want you to look at this guy more closely. And it ties in with something which Lillian sort of brought home and sort of brought to life for me, the need to follow your golden path. Is this guy following his golden path? I don't think so. Something has happened to him in his life which has spoiled everything. And one of the things that Lillian said was about the three white eye. And I think it's something that I would like to add there is a three white eye. You can have a yang three white eye, which you see more in men, and a yin three white eye, which you see more in women, but that you can see them in either. He's actually got a yin three white eye. So the yang three white eye is when you've got your goal, you decided this is what you're going to do. I'm going to reach this goal. I'm going to reach this goal. And it isn't your golden path. And so as you work away and drive yourself more, then you're draining your kidney energy because you're drawing on something which is not being replenished because you're not on your golden path. And so you're denying this voice which says, you're not on your golden path. You're not doing the right thing. So you cut off this voice. You say, oh, bugger it, I'm going to do this. I'm going to reach this goal. When I reach this goal, then maybe I'll follow my golden path. But not now. I've got to do this. I've got to do it. So you shut your heart off to this message. But at the same time, you shut your heart off to the other little voice, which is saying, you're in danger, look out, there's danger around the corner, you should duck now, you should go a different way around. And so for the yang one, when you're driving yourself like that, it's a very high risk of having a very serious accident. I've had a couple of patients that I warned like that, saying, look, you mustn't. Well, one person went hot air ballooning. And hot air ballooning, I mean, no, it's quite safe. But he said, oh, yeah, it is quite dangerous. The other day, we nearly ended up in some electricity pylons. That's not a nice place to end up. But there's a yin white eye when you're not following your golden path, but you can't see a way out. You know, life is just a little bit too comfortable. You haven't got the energy. You've stayed there a bit too long. You've outstayed your welcome, as it were. And now your kidney energies have got so weak, you can't actually summon up the energy to change. Now, if he was a pope, I don't know if this guy really was a pope, he's the real, then you can imagine he thinks, oh no, not saying mass every day, not ordaining these people every week. It's all too much. I'm fed up with it. I want to go out into the country and be with my family. So he's lost it. He's lost the spirit. He's lost what he's doing. And so that's very important for, you see, what's that connection with Alzheimer's? Well, Alzheimer's is when it happens when you've lost your golden path, when you've lost the way. So you lost the way, or put it this way, it's one of the causes, one of the factors. And you can see, as Deirdre was saying, he's got this line. He was like 70. The real Calixtus was 70 when this was painted. And 70, that line should have gone by now. It's not there. It's still there. He's lost his way. And this is where it connects in, as I say, with Alzheimer's. people lose their way, so the kidney energy is not strengthened all the time. He's also got other factors as well. You can see he's quite overweight, and his sallow complexion, indicating a spleen weakness, also with accumulation of food. When you've got the spleen weakness with accumulation of food, then that means toxins are building up in the body, and in particular, toxins will build up in the brain. Now, I don't know whether this person did actually get Alzheimer's disease. Usually it requires a little bit more than that. Usually it requires hard work, or in the West, it requires some physical pollution, like eating food with pesticides in it, or taking medication, or having had lots of anesthetics or something like that. None of these would apply to this person. So he probably escaped and just lived out a sad old life. Anyway, so I just say, like, these signs there, these pointers, look out, do something about it. It's not too late to do something about it. At the least, look after your spleen chi. At the best, start doing something which you like doing. I think, like most popes, he had a number of children called nephews, I think they were called, and he should spend more time with them. That sort of thing. Anyway, that's it's this finding the golden path, which is, I think, just a wonderful teaching of Lillian. Something is a very, very great treasure. Anyway, that's sort of really all I wanted to say. I mean, of course, I wanted to say much, much more, but that was just a little bit of fun that you can have in art galleries. A little bit of fun looking for illnesses, and in my case, this particular study I'm doing in helping people with Alzheimer's. So, thank you. Okay, get rid of that picture now. How did I do that? Stop. There we are.
Yes, thank you, Julian. This was really interesting. And first of all, I think we will never go to a art gallery any longer without looking at the pictures and reading faces now. And I think this is very common that we also say in face reading, when you learn it, you will never look at faces like before, because you will just start seeing things and it will drop out in your face, just as you have seen now in the art galleries, and so beautiful described here, and the life of these people. And also, Julian, I think you really touched on something so special about the golden path, about illnesses later in life. If you're not on your golden path, what comes then to kind of wake you up, to bring you to your golden path, and to really live your...
It's a 60-year transition. Is terribly, terribly important. Terribly important, because you really need to change then.
Yeah, I think this was so well said and beautiful to think about this for practitioners and take it to their heart. And wow, very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Julian. Yeah. And let's continue with the next speaker. We have so much for you here tonight with all of these speakers who wants to share with you, who were taught from Lillian. And now we have Eva-Marie Janelo, who will present for you. And she's from Sweden. And she also fell in love with face reading and Lillian the very first time she heard her. And she couldn't believe what this was all about, but she got hooked and she never wanted to return again to not knowing about face reading. And I know Eva did many courses with Lillian. She was also in Denmark for the congresses, and she was the first one doing the master program, in the first group. And later on, she was invited to be a TA for the master program, which is a teaching assistant. And today, Eva and I have created our own program also with face reading, and that is such an honor for us We actually taped in Rottenburg many years ago, 4 years ago, or now it's actually 5 years ago. We taped our videos. We had photos done together with Lillian at that time. And yeah, finally, we could also birth our program together, Unfold Your Potential with Face Reading, also about the Golden Path. And we're giving essentials of face reading. And now Eva wants to share with you about face reading as a coaching tool. Thank you, Eva, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm so nervous, so I'm afraid I'm going to lose my words. And it's also very emotional to see and meet all of you here. We were very close to each other. We met up so many times all over Europe. I went over to the States. And yeah, I hope I can keep my words together. I met Lillian the first time short after I had been through a huge life crisis. And I was kind of lost in life, and my self-confidence was very, very low. This was in 2006, and Lillian was invited to a weekend in the Swedish Acupuncture Association to teach all the members about face reading. I had never heard about face reading that time. And I was really, when I heard she was coming and talk about faces and rejuvenation and lines and wrinkles, I thought, this is nothing for me. I thought it was something superficial, some kind of beauty treatment. But wow, I was wrong. After I had listening to Lillian only a few hours, I knew this is the deepest wisdom of Chinese medicine I ever had met. And this changed my mind about face reading totally. And in the end of this weekend, I was I had my mission. I had to learn everything about this. And I started to take classes with Lillian wherever she came in Europe. And for the first 5 years, I was working only with my own path. When I went to even if I'm a practitioner, I had so much to work with myself. And understanding my own face transformed my life totally. I had been through much of psychotherapy, but when I came into the face reading to understand the face, what my face was telling me, it was a deep transformation, and I felt deep in my heart the changes, what happened all the time. Every time I was working with myself, looking at my lines and what happened in my face. Lillian taught me self-acceptance. She taught me how to recognize and develop my strength, and how to be aware of my old traumas, where to find them in my face, and how to work with them, and how those traumas had built up destructive patterns. And she gave me powerful tools how to heal those patterns. So I'm so grateful I met Lillian and I had the chance to study with her all those years. When she, 2014, asked me to help in the Master Face Reading program, I was so honored, and that was a chance for me to work deep together with her and go on learning much more from her. So I'm going to share some slides here. After many years of studying my own face and processing my own issues, I started to use face reading as a powerful tool to help other people, because I have felt all the transformation, what happened inside of myself. And I really wanted to help other people with this powerful tool. I do face reading consultations one by one, but I also do workshops where I work with a group, how they can heal together with this tool. When I meet the person the first time, at once I start to look at the face shape, because the face shape, it's telling very much about the personality. For example, if you have a triangular face shape, I know this is a person who is very mental and detail oriented. So I know I have to explain very much. I have to go deep with them. If it's a person with a square shaped face, then I know the structure in our conversation is very important. And I also have to be very direct in my communication with this person. If it's a round face shape, I know this is a person who is very social and likes to be in the center. And she's also very good in communications. She's very verbal, and probably the time will run out during the session because there is so much to talk about. When I have been looking at the face shape, I go further to the 3 zones of orientation. And you heard, I think it was Kelly mentioned those before. Those 3 zones orientation, this is how the person take her decisions. But it's also very good for me in the meeting to know how the person absorbs the information I'm giving them. So if it's the first zone is from the hairline to the top of the eyebrows, and the second zone is from the top of the eyebrows to the bottom of the nose, and the third zone is from the bottom of the nose to the tip of the chin. And the first zone up here, this is a person who is very mental, who is very intellectual, and you have to give a lot of information to them. And it's also, you can't force them to take decision in this very moment. She very often has to go home with all the information. Very often she has been writing down all our conversation and what I have been telling her. So when she's coming back next time, she has taken her decisions how to go further. The second zone, if that one is dominant, this is a person who is very practical. And this person, she has to try everything we have been talking to, everything we have been discussing. She has to go home and try, does it fit her life? Can she do this? And when she comes back, she's telling me, this was good for me. I could do it like this. And the third bottom zone, if that is the dominant zone, I know this person goes with the emotions and in instincts, take decision very much with the emotions. So with this person, it's quite easy because I can see what's happening in her during our session, if she's very eager and if she likes it, or if she's not liking it and how she's taking it in. You can see it in the face very easy. When I have done those 2, I go further to the features, the different features of the face. And the features shows the abilities you are born with. The features can change during the life when you work with yourself, but from the beginning, it shows the abilities you are born with. And I always focus on the strong features because if we talk about the strong features, they can also develop more of themselves. They can use the strength of what's strong inside of them. So, of course, I talk about the weak features too, but I put focus on the strong features. And what I'm looking at in the face is the eyes, the eyebrows, the nose, the cheekbones, the chin, the mouth, and the jaw. Because how big and small those features are, I know what abilities are your strong abilities, and we try to make those abilities even stronger. After I've been talking about the features, during all the conversation, both when I'm looking at the face shape, when I'm looking at the three zones, and when we are talking about the features, I'm looking at the person, what's the reaction, what lines and wrinkles, the emotional is popping up in the face during our conversation. And this gives me a clue where to go deeper. And I follow the face all the time during the session. One thing I'm very fond of working with is to work with the left and right side of the face, to see how symmetric the face is. And I haven't met anyone who is totally symmetric, because the left side in the face, it's our private side. It's who you feel inside of yourself. And the right side is the public side, how you want to other people to see you. And this is always, almost always, a big difference, how you feel inside yourself and how you want other people to see you and understand you. And to show this, I don't know if you're here today, but if you're here, I will say thank you for letting me use your pictures. This is to illustrate how the left side can look like and how the right side could look like. With a program, with an application, we put together the original picture with 2 left sides and 2 right sides. And as you can see, there is a big difference. And why do I do this? This is because when you know what it looks like, you can also understand the different, how you feel inside and how other people is looking at you. And to come to your Ming and to your golden path, the work is to try to put those 2 sides together. So in the end, it's symmetric. And this work is so fun to work with. And I have used this tool very much to myself. And I will show you some pictures. The first picture I took right after my own graduation at the Master Face Reading program. And I was quite surprised the difference between my 2 faces when I have been working so much with myself. But those pictures showed me I really have something more to work with. So after 3 years, I took a new picture and I got shocked. As you can see from the pictures, it's even worse. And I was actually a little bit scared when I saw those pictures. If you look at the original face in the middle, all my face is bent. I had so much anger inside of me, and that you can see on my right side. And in my left side, I was very sad and depleted. So that made me to take a huge decision to change my life very much. So next picture, 3 years later, it was 2020. You can see there is some symmetry coming. The 2 parts of my face is coming together, and it's not that big difference any longer. And the last picture from 2021, it's still a difference, but it's still, I'm working my two parts together. And I have some, while I have some more work to do before I'm coming to my Ming, but I'm curious to work much more with myself. So with this picture, to make those collage of the right and left side, it's something I very often use. Something else I always do is to take a before and after photo. And this was something Lillian taught us. It was so transformational. We could see the changes only in 15 minutes when we did our consultations in the Master Face Reading program. The people who came to have their faces read of the students, they had a picture before and they had a picture after. And what we can see mostly is the Chen. And I know Marian will talk much more about the Chen after me. But those pictures, it's from a workshop I made last week, and it's 3 days before those two pictures. And the Chen you can see mostly in the eyes, but you can also see it in the skin. There is better circulation in the skin, and you can see it in the hair. And sometimes you can see features has changed, and you can also see wrinkles is gone. So I love doing this work, and I'm so grateful. I met Lillian so many years ago, and I know she has changed so many people's life, both for her students and all the people she met to, and she helped with this powerful face reading transformational tool. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eva. This was so beautiful. And thank you for being so honest about yourself and showing yourself. I know you always do that. And it feels like that's the greatest teacher, to be so sharing about yourself and being out there and show the transformation yourself. We know Lillian always did that. Lillian was so open about her life, her life story, and she was always taking herself as an example, just like you just, Eva, did. And I know, working with you, how much you do not let go when you want to learn something. You look yourself in the mirror and you really understand how the wrinkles are made. I've learned so much from you just doing that practice of studying yourself. And this was so beautiful, and we feel your nervousness, but because of the love to Lillian and everything she means to you. And thank you so much, Eva-Marie.
Thank you, Marian. And I feel Lillian is sitting here with us with a smile, and she really likes to be here with us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Eva. Now Eva just brought tears to my eyes. Yeah, you can all hear how special Lillian is to all of us, and how dear both her teachings, she as a mentor, as a friend, and everything. And I really hope you all like this, and that you're taking a lot with you already just from what we are sharing so short here. And yeah, there's so much more we could all share about. And now I would like to share something as well. The topic I chose was face reading, a gateway to the soul for healing. But I would like to start with also how I got to know Lillian. And I wanted to share before I started my path of Chinese medicine, because I did not know what to do. I have dyslexia, so school was never really fun, and it was a hard time being in the box system, and how to then learn and how to find out what you wanted to do in life, you know, which you were already asked about when you're young. And then I was an au pair here in Switzerland, returned back to live here now for over 20 years. And then I started traveling and I started to mature and find myself without still knowing what to do in life. And then I was actually working here in Switzerland, returned back again here. But then I was called home to my mother's deathbed. She was sick with cancer. And before that, she's been an alcoholic for many years. And when I was called home, a friend told me, go home because it might be the last month of her life. And I'm grateful for that friend of our family who told me to go home because it was. I was at her deathbed the last 4 months of her life. And at her deathbed, I called a woman who had just opened her clinic of Chinese medicine, like 10 kilometers away from where we live in Denmark. Many people know Slettestrand and my father's hotel because we had the congresses there. And that woman is Catalina Firebrace, Peter Firebrace's wife, who will come after me here. And she was treating my mother at the deathbed. And that was the first woman who was really special to me and who brought me Chinese medicine. I lost my mother, but I received Chinese medicine. And I had a brochure because my boyfriend, who is now my husband, were looking for schools here in Switzerland. And he came with a beautiful brochure. And Catalina, who was already a practitioner, looked at it and said, wow, you have to go to this school, because I remember most of all this Giovanni Macioccia was teaching there. And she said, like, that's one of the only books that I'm reading, and that's actually there in English, and at that time, many years ago. So I went to the Academy of Chinese Healing Arts by Hamid Montecat in Switzerland. And he had Lillian, I think already in the first year, coming as part of the program teaching face reading. And it kind of blew my mind and opened my heart. And yes, Lillian has systems, but still she breaks the systems because she's connecting you to the spirit. The whole Shen part of reading faces, which all have touched upon also here tonight. And it gave me something that was so special. Because I had to learn still boxes and get the exam of Chinese medicine and become a practitioner and learning to understand the system. But Lillian already at that time infused the part of the spirit, the Shen. And the face reading was magical. The Daoist tradition, alchemy. It was so amazing already. And I so fell in love with face reading and Lillian. She was so beautiful standing there as a teacher, and her storytelling. Wow. There are stories that I learned already in that first time listening to her that I kept to my heart and I'm sharing with my clients today. Stories that has transformational undertones in it. And as you share a story that she shared with you, it does something to the person listening. And you've heard it from all here. Whenever Lillian was teaching at congresses or in the master program, she would touch you. You would always feel like she was talking to you. It was so beautiful to see this, both see Lillian doing this, but also feeling it ourselves. I think none of us had not been touched by Lillian because she touched our story, our golden path. So Lillian was the next woman that was really lifting my way into working on a deep level with people. And as I was doing sorry, I wanted to set my timer so that I could see that I was not speaking too much. So let me do it now. Otherwise, Guy, you will stop me. I want to share how it was when I think I started with the Qi model and then the Jing or opposite, and the last module was the Shen module. And I was so excited for the Shen model. And I remember sitting in class early morning and by the Shen model, and Lillian it was not theory yet. She was just downloading. She was downloading her family's tradition. She was downloading maybe, I remember asking her afterward, what did you say? And she kind of woke up again and said she was not really sure. And I can't remember what she was saying, but it was so beautiful. I was crying when I was listening to her, and I'm almost doing it now. It was so deep, and it was like from another world. She brought in the spirits of her ancestors as she was sharing about the Shen model. It was just the first 2 hours of opening up for the whole Shen model. It was 5 days, 3 times we're doing the master program, and Lillian was just talking and downloading and sharing. And luckily you guys were cooking together in the evening that you could get grounded again and have enough energy for the next day. It was so beautiful. It touched something so deep in me that was helping me further on my path of wanting and deeply desiring to work with the spirit. The core of who we are, the mandate from heaven that's in us, that little spirit that can come out and light up from within. Just like CT showed beautiful pictures of, and said also that when the light is off and nobody's home. And I think that is one of our greatest works that we have learned from Lillian, to bring back the spirit, to call back from traumas, to release the traumas, to release the blockages, to get that person living inside of themselves again, to be filled out, and you can see their purpose lines are growing, and the light in the eyes, the complexion, the hair, it will like stand up, it will be like electricity. And that is also what brought me to my shaman path. Because I did feel like that Chinese medicine was often a mentor standing up in front and talking. Yes, Lillian had her lineage and she was downloading, but I wanted even more of that. I wanted what Lillian was serving, and it took me to the shaman path. And I've traveled the world for Chinese medicine. At points I would do like 200 postgraduate hours to learn more, to like, now I know, and now I can do the best for my clients. And then just 1.5 hour away on another mountaintop here was my shaman, the next woman who would have great influence for me and my path. Because up there, more of the magic came out of body experiences, learning to journey and really open up the third eye and feel the connection to above, and trust that intuition and abilities and that inner knowing and connecting to that wisdom. Because I was not born into a lineage of healers, or maybe my soul is, but not me here as a human being in this life. And then finally I could do Lillian's masterclass. Because when she opened and Eva-Marie did it, I couldn't start because I became pregnant with my 3rd child. But when I was ready and my child was old enough, I could do it. And I had so much looked forward to really intensely learn from Lillian. I'd learned from her since 2001 and over again, and she was always part of whatever I did, my congresses in Denmark, online summits, webinars, because I just knew she would always share what my heart was beating for. Lillian would have that information from out there, bringing it in here. And the master classes was so beautiful, and I was so much looking forward to doing the Ming, because that was about people's destinies, their golden path, living their life purpose. Because I was so deeply desiring to do that myself, to live my purpose and my life calling. And the Ming class, I was at a huge transition, like you've heard all of us, and how Lillian had impact in our lives. We were in transitions, and life had, how to say that, shaken us, and I knew more, and other things were calling me. I had had my clinic for many years of Chinese medicine. I adored my clients, but it was like, it felt like there was more to it than sitting one-on-one. And then at the Ming class, I was quite sad, and I couldn't understand what was going on. Normally in life, I would just take my fire and run with it and take decisions, and things would happen. I'm sure you also, who are practitioners here, you're probably reading us what element we are, as you've had all different us teaching here today. And I so deeply wanted a transition, and we were doing the Ming class. And Lillian told me, it's okay, Marian. Go home and sell your clinic. Start your new path. But there will still be a journey to do. And at that point, I was 45. And she said, wait until you're 47. And I was like, oh my God, 2 more years of this. How can I do it? And then when I was 47, what Lillian had seen in my face was that it was time for my father to leave. It was his time to be called back. That was what she had sawn in my face, because it makes quite a mark. It was my last parent. A lot of things happens to you when you lose your last. It's like there's what's behind you. Nothing is kind of behind you any longer, and you're kind of alone. But then you really start connect to the spirits of your parents and your ancestors, because there's nothing here on earth. They are in the spirits, so if you want to communicate with them and talk with them, it's on a spirit level. So Lillian learned me so much about the spirit, and I can feel her coming back again in spirit, and she's kind of with me, or all these 3 women are with me when I do my clients, if it's in my clinic here at home, or if it's my little clinic, because I'm a lot of mother right now with my 2 children, and if I'm working online. And the way I do face reading, it's like there's a little lamp just lighting up one of the features. And in a moment, I'll ask Guy to show the emotional map. And that line that's talking, it's like the gateway in, the gateway to the soul. Talking to them, it's like we're all detectives when we read people's faces. And it's in this Shen to Shen connection, from heart to heart, that you feel your client. And there was one time I was reading a person, and she was an older woman with a lot of lines, and I was thinking, oh my, how can I read all these lines? But actually in that session, it was one line that was talking. And I was just like going down the road with this one line. And it's like the spirit started to dance with each other as you're meeting this person on this level. And it was just this one line, talking around it, dancing around it. And like Deirdre said, it is like you're invited to come into the person. And also like Eva just shared before, the right side and the left side of the face, the right side being what you show to the public and the left side being the true self. I'm always looking in the eyes of the left side. What's going on deep within, connecting to that soul? Are they letting me in? Can I get all the way in? Can I even hear more inside that left eye, the mirror of the soul? And sometimes checking with the right side and then going back to the left. And then I trust more the eyes, what they are saying, than what people are saying through their mouth. And sometimes it's just a short glimpse of a shift in the energy of the eye or eyes that you can see, and something had happened. And I will always ask them, what's going on now? Or sometimes give them a minute to grab what they feel or sense or what they pick up, and then I'll ask. And often they are not even conscious about what's going on already. But I will keep asking what's happening now to make them grab what's happening within them, the shift, the magic, the connection, what they are sensing, if they're hearing or knowing or seeing things, helping them to assist them in connecting with their soul and listening to their soul. And last week I had this one client, and he was also older. He had had a stroke. He was not happy about his situation, but he was doing okay. But he was not like before. Was something that came up. It's like what Deirdre said about or Kelly said about listening and seeing, using your senses, deeply trusting your intuition. And there was just also this one line talking. We've seen before the lost love lines, and when they go further down in the cheek, it's the sorrow lines and go all the way into grief lines. And there was this line that was talking. So I was just communicating with this line and understanding who was sitting in front of me and going into this journey with him. And again, having this picture before and after. It's unbelievable what can happen when you can talk with the soul and you can pull it forward, you can bring life back again through the face that is a gateway into their soul, and talking to them what's deep within, and maybe giving them like an homework or giving them assistance in like the virtues. Lillian was so good at talking about virtues that we are to learn, life lessons and everything. So I will round it up with showing you the emotional map, which we've seen before. And here you see the lines. The sadness line goes even further down in sorrow and grief. You see the joy lines when you're smiling a lot. You see skeptic lines if they are putting up their eyebrows. What is really going on here? Bitterness lines below the lips. Also, if you see people having the humor lines, it's helping them really to cultivate their humor and use it to lift their spirit. The disappointment lines, if it's like you're really disappointed and you make this face and you're not really happy about your life situation. Or you see if it's crumbling up here on the jaw where it is, no, not the jaw, I forgot the English words. Well, here, it's about fear signs. We are tracking all of this in the face to see who is really sitting in front of us. And lines that I love, and I can't wait until they're coming by myself. The transformation lines here. When you've been through hard times and you've kind of given up and accepted, and then you go back into flow. And all of this you will find in Lillian's book. Yes, so thank you for sharing this. Okay. And as we were starting with CT playing the drum, I would like to end our teaching with playing the drum. You have heard so much today, connecting with Lillian, how wonderful she is as a human being and now in spirit form and still talking to us and through us all here. Maybe just close your eyes and feel everything everybody has taught here tonight, and feel Lillian and feel the spirits, feel your own soul and connect to your Shen. And just let your intuition lead you and guide you. What will you feel as I'm making a slow drum beat here, calling in the spirits? What will you sense in this moment? What will you hear? What will you see? Your senses talking and being connected to your intuition. So just feel the beat and let it happen. So thank you for this. It was a great joy to share as well. Please stay on. I see that the guy is saying to stay here because we are not done at all. This was the official teaching part we have for you all here. And now it's time to have some music to lift up the energy here, to lift the spirit. And that's why we have Peter Firebrace invited here to come. And Peter and Lillian are connected through music. And Lillian was a wonderful singer. She was a performer, just like when she was teaching, she also dearly loved to sing. And Lillian and Peter got connected through singing, and they created a band who has played in the Chinese medicine communities at my Congress in Denmark, but also in Rothenburg and at the English Congress, and even in Canada as well. And now it's just time to have Peter come in. And often you see the character for music, and joy is the same in Chinese. And music gives joy to us, but it's also healing. So please, Peter, come in and be part of it here now and give your contribute to Lillian. Thank you for being here, Peter. Yes, come in.
So many people out there, and I see nothing but a strange screen. That's how life is these days. Okay, I'd like to say just a few words about Lillian. There's been a lot said about how wonderful she was with her teaching. And my link with Lillian was slightly different, so I'd like to share that side of her. We've heard how she was a master face reader, a master storyteller, a master cook, a master Daoist designer. It's the first time I've heard that. It sounds much more upmarket than a feng shui practitioner. I like that. But she was also a musician. And in fact, we should be both sad and consider ourselves fortunate that Lillian didn't become a professional musician. She had a very beautiful, clear voice. I think I'm right in saying that her mother was also a singer. And I have a feeling there might have been some jealousy there. And her mother didn't encourage her to become a musician. There would have been a bit of competition. I think I remember Lillian saying something like that to me. Anyway, her main focus, of course, was the face reading and the teaching and the writing. So perhaps we have a mum to thank for that. I think ultimately we're just really lucky to have known Lillian. She had so many good qualities that we've heard about and touched so many people in their lives and in the direction of their lives. That's an unusual thing to do. And she also did it with bright eyes and a quick and ready smile. That's unusual too in teachers. So all of those qualities, I had the honor and pleasure of sharing her musical side. Many of you probably know, if you've been to Rothenburg, that we organized concerts there. And I think it was one of her skills to gather musicians together, gather people together. And we had over the years so many wonderful and talented musicians who were practitioners or teachers. Lars Schuster with his wonderful trumpet, which I wish he was here to play on the song that I will sing for you in a minute, Blossom Falling. Lucas Wilkman on sax, so jokey, so skilled. Thomas Brandstetter on guitar. Michael Hertner also on guitar. These were fantastic players. And we had the honor of playing with them and of coming together, often after just one single rehearsal, to play in front of 100, 150, maybe 200 people at the end of the Congress. And we did this in Vancouver when we went there. We did it in London with Charlie Buck playing guitar. He's a very good gypsy jazz guitarist. So other qualities than that healing acupuncture, Chinese medicine side came out. And they were often at the end, the grand finale. And it was a kind of culmination and a completion and an uplifting. As Marian has just said, the Chinese character pronounced le for joy is the same as the Chinese character pronounced yue for music. And Lillian was right there at the heart of all that. So it's sad, really, to sing a song solo when I have good memories of standing beside her and accompanying her, or even singing duets. Not everyone can be here today. And I'd just like to read an email I got this morning from Richard Berchinger, who plays fantastic jazz piano and was there along with so many others over the years. Hi, Peter. I have literally just crawled out of my tent at Windermere Youth Hostel to read your email. Windermere, for those of you who don't know England, is the Lake District, a very beautiful district full of mountains and lakes. So there he is. I can't remember how old he is exactly, but I'd say late 70s. And he's just crawled out of his tent. Nice bright morning after the rain. I'll go down to the lake today, Lake Windermere, made famous by Wordsworth, to find Lillian's soul. Thanks for thinking of me. She was a great teacher, the best. Simple and true. I've prepared a video tribute, which Guy's going to put up on your screen. And after that, I'll sing a song. Showtime, I often heard Lillian exclaim as she stepped up to take the stage at one of the numerous congresses she was invited to as the world's leading face-reading expert. Many will rightly sing her praises for her pioneering work in this field, her deep knowledge, her quick, perceptive mind, and her lively teaching style, full of anecdotes from her colourful life. Her untimely death leaves us her legacy in the books and online courses she put so much work into, so that her knowledge is not lost and the precious thread of tradition is not broken. As teachers, our paths crossed many times, and I got to know her well with our shared passion for music. A gifted and natural performer, blessed with a clear, beautiful voice, she sang jazz standards, Summertime, All of Me, Over the Rainbow, I'll Be Seeing You, and composed her own songs on piano, children's songs written for her children and grandchildren. The popular and successful Saturday evening concerts, the fantastic finales at the annual Rodenburg TCM Congress in Germany, one of the largest gatherings of Chinese medicine practitioners worldwide, would never have happened without Lillian. Evolving from humble beginnings as sing-alongs in Hell, the town's intoxicating after-hours meeting place, we took the music to a much larger audience in the elegant Rococo room at the Wildbad Hotel, creating a space for talented teachers and practitioners to share their love of music in an accessible and joyful format that we also took to congresses in Denmark, London, Vancouver in Canada. A highlight of the evening was always Lillian singing Icelandic hero's song Chocolate, with helpers suitably placed to throw chocolates into the audience during the chorus. Chocolate, it melts the pain away, it melts the pain away. When someone so full of life dies, the silence is deafening. I miss her bright, vivacious spirit, her kindness, her intelligence, and her unremitting enthusiasm for life. She has gone on, but the experiences we shared together remain. Hers was a full life, well lived.
Baby mine, mama's wishing you a world to grow up in, where joy and laughter are not sins, where every day you can begin to be what you can be, baby mine, baby mine.
Okay. I hope that you can hear me fine. I'm sorry, in order to play music, you have to have a different microphone. So this is a song for Lillian. It's a song we used to play at the beginning of the Rothenburg conferences, the early ones. So this is for her. Sometimes the sun can be obscured by clouds, and the moon is never seen at all. Many a thought's never spoken out loud, but silence gives out its own call. And you're quiet like winter, deep roots in the ground. And that strength supports you through the dark without a sound. In the push of the times, in the pull of the tides, it's hard to find a way to steer. But don't let it slide. Take life as your guide, and there's nothing that won't come clear. And you rise like the spring, blossom falling all around you, and your fruits give so many seeds, released from all that bound you. For Lillian.
Oh, Peter, thank you so much. This was wonderful.